Hey there. Today is the first day of the third quarter of the year 2020. Today also happens to be Canada Day, so happy Canada Day. I spent a big piece of today doing some goal work. So I like to, on the first day of the quarter, I like to review what happened in the last quarter, have a look at my goals, and just talk about what went well, what didn't go well, how I did in terms of my goals, and what I want to set goals for in the next 3 months. This year has been really weird in terms of goal setting for obvious reasons, pandemic. And so we started the second quarter just as we were into the full swing of pandemic. And so we're kind of 2 weeks in. And so we really didn't know what the next 3 months were going to look like. For me, I knew it was going to be tax season, so a 3-month tax season. And it was really tough to create goals, but I did it anyways, and I just sort of took my best guess. And it was interesting to look back on some of those today and see how I either didn't do them like at all, or like I would go to do them and then it would feel weird because we were in the middle of a pandemic. Like one of my personal goals was to figure out how I can play beach volleyball every single day, which basically means figuring out how I can play in the winter, because living in Ottawa, you are not able to play outside in the winter. It's very, very cold. It's like minus 30 for months at a time. Maybe a slight exaggeration. Maybe it's only weeks at a time, but it's still far too cold to play. So that meant doing a bit of research and figuring out like, how am I able to play in the winter because we don't have an indoor facility here. And that meant, where am I going to go in the world that allows me to play? And so every time I would go to try and like do that goal, research how I was going to do that, it felt very strange. It felt like even if I'm 100% successful in figuring out a plan, I can't execute on that plan because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So I let go of that goal for now, dream deferred. And yeah, I've replaced this quarter with less achievement goals, less things that I can say, yes, I've done, in the sense that I could say, yes, I have figured out how I'm going to play beach volleyball all year. I had an income goal for this year that I've decided that, the income goal was based on being able to buy a house. And I did it without having to reach that income goal. And so I've let go of the income goal. It's not important to me, the number that I'm making anymore. It's more important to me, the efficiency of the business. So I want to measure that instead of my gross revenue number. So I've decided to measure that. I'm going to measure my profit margin percentage basically, and I want to measure an increase in that number from what it is in Q2 to the beginning of Q4. Basically, I want to see an increase. And the other goals were habit goals. One of my goals from last quarter was to journal every week, because I really wanted to be able to think more clearly and not feel so overwhelmed by all the like swirly thoughts in my head. And I did it one time. I did it one time in 3 months. And what I realized was that I want that process, or I want the like getting all that stuff out of my head, but that journaling is not the way that I do that. It's not something that I enjoy doing. And I would much rather talk about it with somebody, or just talk about it in general. So I've decided that instead of trying to journal, I'm going to just record myself talking into my phone, and we'll see if that has the intended outcome. Some of the goals I did carry forward. Doing a Facebook Live every day for a whole year is one of my goals. Yesterday was halfway through the year, which means today, right now, as I'm halfway through this one, we're halfway through my goal of 365. This year is going to be 366 in a row because it was a leap year, but we're halfway through. So I carried that one forward, and I'll continue to do that over the next 3 months. And the other ones were mostly about getting basically getting things out of my head and staying organized, which I think really for me equates to self-care. A lot of times I see self-care as like, oh, I'm gonna relax, or I'm gonna, like, we see these posts that are like, just like self-care day or something, and it's like, I don't know, somebody walking in hot springs with champagne and like, I don't know, a little puppy. Probably have never seen that actual photo I just described, but it's all these things that are just not necessarily the way that I care for myself, but also the way that I think that we should be caring for ourselves. In that, I think really good self-care comes from setting ourselves up for success. And so for me, that means making sure that I am really, really diligent about using my planner. So my purple planner is now over, and I've switched to the green one. Q3 is green. But being really, really diligent about filling out these daily pages every morning before I start work, having a very clear workday startup where I plan for the day, and then at the end of the day, having a very clear, like, just brain dump of all the things that are on my mind right then and what I need to do for tomorrow. And just basically keeping it next to me on my desk so that if I'm in the middle of something, I can just write it down. I can have a thought and write it down and not get distracted. So those are the big ones for me. Oh, practicing French is also on my list. I wanted to be conversational in French by the end of the year, but I've since realized that perhaps that was maybe an aggressive goal. So I have settled for practicing every day. At least I'm moving forward on this whole French language learning thing. So those are the big things for me. I learned that I still want the intended outcome of the goals from Q2, but that the method that I chose in Q2 doesn't work for me. And I'm learning about myself and how to set myself up for success, which I think is ultimately what I'm always trying to learn to do, and what I believe self-care is. I would love to know from you what your goals are for Q3. Let me know what you're up to in the comments. And I'd love to know also how you feel about self-care. Like, what does that mean for you? Let me know. I'd love to continue the conversation there. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying your day. I hope you got to take the day off, because that's what today is supposed to be about, I guess. Hanging out, having fun. I'll see you tomorrow.